Well, hello and welcome to this week's episode of On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update. How are you? I'm your host, Chris Green, Director of Network Expansion for Avoya Travel. Thanks for your time today. We hope you hear something today that's inspiring or causes you to want to know more, because telling the amazing story of those in the Avoya Network and the amazing story behind Avoya Travel is just the best part of being on the network expansion team. And we're going to make sure you have all the contact information at the end of the program. But as always, your starting point's going to be avoyanetwork.com. We're pre-taping our show today, so we're going to jump right into the things. And we're so excited to welcome in our featured Meet the Network guest today, Annette Hernandez, owner of SEAQUEST 3US TRAVESIAS, LLC. And we're excited to tell her amazing story. We featured some of this on our social media before, but we're just so excited to hear from her own voice, her story, and how she ended up in the United States. So please help me in welcoming again our featured Meet the Network guest today, Annette Hernandez. Annette, so great to have you as part of On Deck with Avoya.
Thank you. I'm very honored.
Annette, before we get too far into our interview, can you share with us a little bit about that amazing story and how you ended up coming to the United States as a young girl and how that all ended up, lucky for us, with you being part of the elite Avoya Network?
Yeah, certainly. Well, I was born in Stockholm, Sweden, and right after, in 1946, right after the Second World War ended. And at that time, most of Europe wanted to move, to have something fresh, and they called it the America fever in Sweden. And my parents got the America fever, and so we decided to immigrate. You had to have a job in those days to immigrate. And so my father worked, he was a private chauffeur for a millionaire who was friends with the King of Sweden. And he knew a millionaire in Lake Forest, Illinois, who agreed to sponsor my parents, and so we could immigrate. So we left in 1949. I was 3 years old, and on the big cruise liner, the Kumkom, and that's, of course, where I first started to get an idea of what travel was and how great it was. And we spent a few months, the time we needed, in Illinois, and then moved to Seattle, Washington. Actually, the Issaquah area, Issaquah, Washington. And that's where I grew up. And when I was ready to go to college, I wanted to go somewhere else, not just the University of Washington. And I heard about the University of the Americas in Mexico City. And I actually wanted to be a Pan Am stewardess. Pan Am, it was like being a movie star, to be a Pan Am stewardess in those days. And but you needed 2 years of college minimum and Spanish in order to travel internationally. And that's what I wanted to do internationally. So I went off to Mexico City, went to college. After 2 years, my roommate said, "Don't leave, stay, finish your career here." So I stayed and finished and got my degree in teaching instead. And then I met my husband in the last few days of college, actually. He's from Mexico. He was at another university, and we met in the cafeteria in my university. And 3 months later, we were married. And actually, on Sunday, August 13th, we're going to be celebrating 57 years together.
Congratulations.
Together. Yeah. And so we got married. We decided to immigrate him and move back near my parents. I'm an only child. So that's what we did. We were there for another year and a half, and then he got a job in Ketchikan, Alaska. So off we went to Alaska for 4 years. He was actually interviewing, he thought, for a job in Seattle. But when they called him to offer it, they said, "Ketchikan, Alaska, we want you here in 2 weeks." So all our stuff went on the barge, and it took a month to get our furniture and everything. Uh, and so, but we spent 4 years in Ketchikan. So that was the beginning of more travel,
For
different
sure.
kind of travel. After a while, the weather got to us after 4.5 years, and we decided to move back down to near Mexico. So we moved to San Diego and lived there for 30 years. When my husband was ready to get an early retirement from Allstate Insurance, he called me and said, "How would you like to move the family back to Mexico again?" We had 4 daughters by then who were all teenagers, and give them the culture and the language. So I said yes, always ready for a new travel adventure. And we moved to Hermosillo, Mexico, which is the capital of the state of Sonora. And we lived there for 8 years. And I had my own business there, the Dynamic Conversation Club. It was a club where you paid monthly, and the no kids, only adults, and they would come to the club and practice their English, and we would teach them business English and idiomatic expressions and get rid of their accents. We discussed things, and it was a great experience. I had students coming from the Goodyear company that's down there, and also Ford Motor Company was there, and they'd send their executives to me when they needed them to, improve their English so they could be go up in the business. And those were wonderful years. But after 8 years, the economy started going down in Mexico, so we moved back. By that time, back to the U.S. By that time, 2 of our daughters were married and the other 2 were on their own in college. And so we moved back to San Diego, where we had connections. My husband had connections. And I thought, oh, I don't have to plan my life anymore around making sure I'm home in the afternoon for the kids. So what do I want to be? And I thought, well, I want to be a travel agent because, and I thought it would be easy to get a job. I thought I speak Swedish, English, and Spanish. I traveled, I'll be a great travel agent. So I started calling places, of course, travel agencies. Well, the biggest one in San Diego was a brick and mortar chain called Anderson Travel. And
Heard of it?
yes, which later became Avoya Travel when the
Absolutely.
internet came in. Well, they wouldn't hire me because I didn't know how to come in, sit down at that computer, and book air. And air was mainly what the agencies were doing. Cruising was barely beginning. In fact, we were in Ketchikan the day that the first cruise ship stopped in Ketchikan.
Wow.
And so, it was very new. So they said, after you learn, well, then, and they didn't have time to teach me. They were so busy. They needed someone to slide into that chair and book,
Sure.
So I got a job with a new agency, Cruise Holidays, who didn't use the computer yet. They used the phone for everything, and she taught me cruises. She was a nautical engineer, and she taught me to see those ships in a different way. I mean, just, beautifully.
Sure.
So I worked for her for a while, but then she got pregnant and was going to close her business. So looking for a job again, I went to work for Costco Travel, actually. And
Got it.
and their cruise agency was in San Diego. So it was a huge cruise agency. And they got me interested in doing CLIA, going through the CLIA steps.
The education and all of the things for certification. And
right. And that takes a few years because you have to go on a certain number of cruises, you have to go and inspect ships, you have to do many things to become to study the industry. And Costco sent me out to do all that, trips all over the place, and seminars at sea. And someone was always, it was exciting. Someone always had a suitcase, and they were either coming or going.
Wow, how exciting.
It was. Then we had our first grandchild born in Tucson, Arizona. And so, of course, they wanted us to be near. So we moved. We moved again. And I worked for a couple of other agencies in Tucson. And then we moved to Phoenix for 3 years, where I worked for a big cruise agency there for 3 years. But
wow.
one day, one of my coworkers said, "I'm leaving and I'm going to start my own business, my own travel agency from home, and it's called Avoya Travel." And I said, "Oh, but you won't have benefits and salary and all those things that that make you feel secure." And she said, "No, but I think I'm going to do all right. I got my Social Security coming in as a base, and from there I'll go." Well, I kept an eye on her for 6 months, and she was doing well. So my husband joined the agency that I was working at, and got trained because he was ready to retire. So he got trained as a cruise agent, worked
Okay.
there for a while, and then he left and started Avoya Travel with me at home. I was still at the other agency for just a little bit, but I come home in the evening and take a leave and work it separately from the other agency completely.
Now that you've got this far and you're with Avoya Travel, maybe you could tell us a little bit about some of the resources that you use that help your agency to continue to be successful, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Oh yes, it's the best thing that I've ever done, really, to join Avoya. Um, I can do everything from my phone or my laptop, and because Avoya just keeps giving us better and better tools to work with. You sign in to a dashboard, and there you have everything. You have a search engine. You put your clients' profiles and the sales in there. You can sell right through it on a lot of vendors, mostly the cruise lines. Not all of them, but some only by phone. Just they have so much support. When you're new, I was constantly calling the help desk, which they answer and they're there, and they're there for you, and they walk you through the screen, whatever it is that you need. And I still use them because things are always changing, and so
Isn't that the truth?
they are always so helpful. And Outlook, Avoya, you get an Outlook account through Avoya. And so there, I see on my phone, constantly I can keep up with the emails from my clients and from Avoya and from the cruise lines, and it doesn't matter where I am in the world, as long as I have service, I'm able to work my business, and I do it from camping in our motorhome to taking a Nile cruise.
That's pretty awesome. Annette, what are you hearing from clients these days? Kind of what's the word on the street as far as their current state of wanting to travel? Are things pretty busy for you with your agency?
Yes, they are so busy. But I keep it at a good pace because it's only me. I don't have anyone else, and I like it that way. I'm very detail oriented and want to make sure that none of those details for their trip falls through the cracks. So, but people are calling ever since the pandemic, and I want to travel. I want to do it now while I still can. While I still can is what I hear over and over again.
Well, that's a good thing to hear over and over again, I would think. Our featured guest, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Annette Hernandez, owner of SEAQUEST 3US TRAVESIAS, LLC, an independent agency in the Avoya Network, is our featured Meet the Network guest today. Annette, maybe could you share a few bits of advice that you might think is key to understanding how to operate a successful travel business here in 2023?
Yes. First of all, through Avoya, of course, don't take too many leads at once. Work those leads without becoming a bug to the client or prospective client. When I take a lead, well, there's different kinds of leads. But one, you click a little button and you get a web lead, someone that sent an email to Avoya requesting. So there you've got a little bit of time. You can research a little what they wanted, so you're prepared when you call them, you know. Another kind of lead is you get someone on the line with you right now. You are on the phone with them and talking. I love those kinds because I don't have to chase them through an email, right, whatever, you know. You get that rapport right away. That's important. Make them trust you, get a friendly rapport, and then just take good notes about what they want and what their experience that they want to have is, and research it well. And I tell them I'll call them back in a reasonable amount of time. It's always the same day, even if it's to tell them that I don't have everything yet, but I always get back. I don't procrastinate and let things pile up. And I usually try to put a courtesy hold on what I think is the best thing that they're looking for. Then we have something to work with, and it's something real for at least the time frame that the cruise line or the tour company gives. It's not just giving a at the moment price. It's a real price and a real availability for a few days or a week, whatever.
Sounds like a pretty sharp closing technique, if you ask me, to end up with some more sales there, Annette.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a tickler file. I don't know if anybody knows what a tickler file is, but I like to have a hard copy file for every booking. You never know when you're not going to have service or something. So, and it's just a file that I have from January to December. And let's say I book something today, but 3 months from now, their final payment is due, let's say. Well, then I put that file in the month, 3 months from now. And so, and the file keeps moving. When the final payment is made, then I put it in the month that they're going to be traveling, unless there's something else I need to do to it, add air at a certain point, and it goes into that month. And the file just moves along that way until they've traveled. And that keeps me very organized. And I can take that file with me wherever I go also, but seeing everything online.
Sounds like you have some of the amazing traits that we hear time and time again from so many of our guests that end up making great travel advisors. And I hope our guests that are new to the industry are really paying attention to what Annette said, because that's important for you to understand that, you know, you have to be proactive with your clients, and you have to be, you know, have that little sparkle in your voice and that personality and something that's engaging. So Annette, I think you tick all the boxes when it comes to that. You talked about being able to use the Avoya resources from anywhere in the world. Anything exciting on the personal travel front that you could share with us maybe today?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We usually try to go somewhere big every year. But in this case, the next big one is going to be March 27th of 2025. And I think that will come along pretty quickly, really, anyway. We're going on the Windstar cruise ship, the Star Breeze, and it's a 14-day Tahitian treasures and magnificent Marquesas.
Woo!
And so it's from Papeete, Tahiti, doing all the Tahitian islands, and then it goes 1,000 miles over to the Marquesas Islands, which are one of the most remote group of islands in the world, so on tropical islands. So I'm very, very excited about that. It's been my dream to go to Tahiti since I was a teenager and saw South Pacific on the big screen. I know it was filmed in Hawaii, not Tahiti, but it gave me that feeling, you know.
For sure.
Uh-huh.
I'm assuming that the little girl that came through Ellis Island and has lived this amazing life and here in New York City and Seattle, Alaska, San Diego, Phoenix, so many places, you must look back and just be astonished.
Yes, each one seems like a different life, you know.
Absolutely. We really appreciate your time today, Annette. I'm going to wrap up our interview today with our final question, which I love to ask all my guests, and I know our conversation kind of already answers it, but I ask it anyway. Are you excited about the future of leisure travel?
Oh, yeah. I'm more excited than ever. And as Avoya gives us more and more tools, and it's just, I'm so happy with our agency and our affiliation. It's really a real gift. And it keeps me, I'm 77 years old and
Wow.
and have this great business that I don't have to sit here 8 hours a day. There are days, you know, a few days go by where I do nothing. So I feel like I'm retired with a fantastic, interesting hobby that makes me money and allows me to travel also. So it's great.
That's a perfect exclamation point on our conversation today. Annette Hernandez, everyone, owner of SEAQUEST 3US TRAVESIAS, LLC, an independent agency in the Avoya Network. Annette, thank you so much for your time and that great conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Next week, we're excited to welcome back my good friend, Ed Henderson, early success development coach, sales development coach for Avoya Travel. I mean, put me in, coach, because after a few sessions with Ed, you'll certainly be ready to play. We can't wait to welcome back one of our most engaging guests next Thursday at our normal time for On Deck with Avoya. And then looking ahead 2 weeks on the 31st of August, we've got the very exciting John Chernesky. So honored John would give us some of his time. John's the Senior Vice President of Sales for North America with Norwegian Cruise Line. You don't want to miss this one. We'll be sending out links to register to those in our database. So if you don't want to risk missing it and you're not part of it yet, go to avoyanetwork.com, get your information listed. We'll make sure we get those invites out to you. We want to quickly just touch base on our promotion that we have ongoing with the military community, taking $100 off for those that are active or retired or whose spouses qualify as well. $100 off the affiliation fee. Again, avoyanetwork.com. We brag about it every week, but let's quickly just brag about our travel agent education powered by Avoya and the amazing things Gina Hoyt and her team continue to do. It is the foundation for the future of your success. If you want an agency that Annette was just talking about and live a lifestyle that you can only dream about, getting the foundation built is the right way to do that. Again, avoyanetwork.com. Cannot say enough great things about travel agent education powered by Avoya because it gets you ready for the resources that Avoya Travel offers to those in the Avoya network. Exclusive resources like live leads and access to our agent power that Annette was talking about, our turnkey marketing assets in the world-class Avoya Marketing Resource Center. My team can't wait to tell you all about it. All the details, again, at avoyanetwork.com. We certainly appreciate your time for tuning into our show today. And if you never want to miss anything that we've got going on, give us a follow on the social media channels, please, at Avoya Travel Network. That's going to be YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook, all those cool places. Lots of places to be able to catch up with what's going on with Avoya Travel. And then you can go old-fashioned. You can pick up the phone. You can give me a call. There's the number. or you can send me an email, chris.green@avoyatravel.com. I'll either answer directly, and then I'll probably get you connected with somebody on my team because they're so smart and so knowledgeable about Avoya Travel. And as always, AvoyaNetwork.com is your best place to get information. Big thank you to Annette Hernandez. A big thank you to Annabella from Trade Marketing. A big thank you to you. See you next week with Ed Henderson here for another week of On Deck with Avoya. Until then, take care, everyone.